and welcome back to Lady Jane Books. Today I'm doing the last 10 book tag. I have been so remiss on my tags. It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. I am so sorry. So I decided to jump in and start doing some of the tags on my behemoth of a list for everybody who tagged me in anything for the past couple months. And I decided to start with the last 10 book tag. I actually was tagged to do this by Very Literary Kari a couple of months ago. So sorry, Kari. But I saw it and I'm doing it now and I want to mention you. Thank you very much. If you haven't gone and checked out her channel, you have to do it. She reads some really interesting books and she always has this really cool historical flair to the things she's reading. Go check her out. I promise you definitely won't be disappointed. And the second person that tagged me is my brand new booktube buddy named Mason. Mason runs this awesome channel called Mason in the Dark. If you haven't checked out his channel yet, you totally have to. He has the driest sense of humor ever. He has this very quick wit. His reviews are always amazing and they're well-rounded and really well thought out. So you definitely have to go check out his channel. I'm going to link both of these channels in the description box. They are two of my all-time favorites. So you definitely have to go check out their video and leave a comment saying Lady Jane sent ya. So let's get started. Today I'm doing the last 10 books book tag. Number 1. What was the last book you did not finish? I actually have not finished The Butterfly Garden yet by Dot Hutchinson. I read literally like 1 or 2 pages and I decided that I wasn't emotionally ready for it yet. I wanted a bit of a quicker read, so I stopped reading it. But I definitely have every single intention in the world to continue on with this. The Butterfly Garden is this really creepy novel about a man who abducts girls and keeps them and refers to them as his butterfly collection. It sounds super creepy. I've been excited for it for about 6 months. So I'm definitely going to continue on, but as of right now, I have not finished it yet. Number 2, what was the last book that you reread? I'm honestly not a big rereader. I would much rather read a book, enjoy it, and then move on and discover a new world rather than sit and see something that I've already read before. I think this is especially true because I read a lot of horror and thrillers. So once you read it the first time, you really know the twist and you know what happened. So it makes the second time not as fun for me, which is why I'd rather move on to a new work. But to answer this question, recently I've actually began the tradition of reading How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss every single year at Christmas time. So technically that's a reread from way back in the day, my childhood. So I'm gonna go with How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss as the last book that I reread. Number 3, what was the last book that you bought? I actually just purchased The Silent Patient. It was one of those audiobooks deals of the day. You get a beautiful, well-known, very highly acclaimed book for under $5. And Mason from Mason in the Dark and I were actually talking about how we both cannot resist a good deal of the day. And so I could not resist The Silent Patient. I've heard wonderful things about it. I've heard it's very creepy and very twisty. And it's something I really wanted to put on my list for this summer. So I bought the audiobook version of The Silent Patient. Number 4, what was the last book that you said you read but didn't? So I was a very studious person in my youth. I really liked high achieving, especially when it comes to academics. So that being said, I was a very busy person. And for my English class, we had to read Tessa the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. Now, I'm usually a very honest person, but at that point, I had so much going on academically. And if you've ever read Tessa the D'Urbervilles, you know that this man was probably being paid by the letter. There is so much description about the weather and the trees and the grass and all of these things that at the time I didn't see how they really fit into the story. So I may have said that I read Tess of the D'Urbervilles during English class, and I may not have actually read it. I'm just saying. But in my defense, I did read it years later when I was in college, and I loved it. I loved the story. I now understand what Thomas Hardy was trying to do in creating the tumultuous social atmosphere and Tessa's internal struggles through the weather and the trees and what was going on in her life. So now I get it, and I think it's brilliant, and it's actually one of my favorite stories of all time. But that was the last time that I was like, you know, I don't have time or effort or mental capacity for this right now. So I hope that counts. I definitely hope that counts, but I think it does. Number 5, what was the last book that you wrote in the margins in? I am usually very against defacing a book, but there is one case where I will do it. I give books as gifts to a lot of my friends, and I try to make it meaningful to them in some way. So for example, I gave one of my very best friends in the entire world a copy of Phantom of the Opera. And that was kind of a throwback because in our youth, we loved Phantom of the Opera. We'd be singing it all the time. We designed costumes. We were awesome, to be honest. But looking back, we were very, very into this. And so lately I've been trying to make some gifts about nostalgia, and I ended up purchasing her a copy of the book. And I initialed it and wrote a nice little message to her. And to me that was very meaningful, so I actually started doing that for other friends and acquaintances of mine and going through the book if I've read it and putting little dialogue being like, oh my, do you remember this? And little inside jokes where they'll find it when they read it. I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's really sweet and thoughtful. Some people might be getting their pitchforks and saying I'm the devil for that, but that's just me. Number 6, what was the last book that you had signed? My father was a huge Odd Thomas fan, and he really liked Dean Koontz's writing. So years ago, Dean Koontz was releasing a book called Innocence, and to make a really special Christmas gift, I actually opted for the signed copy. And after he finished reading it, he added it to my library. So technically it's mine now, but I think it's a very special book, and it kind of gives me that memory. Have I read it yet? No. Number 7, what was the last book that you lost? I really try to keep my books in great condition. I don't lend them out. I don't crease them. I don't dog-ear their edges or anything like that. I'm very, very protective of the books that I own. So I don't really have a modern answer for this, but for my childhood, I remember there were books, and it was a book series, and I cannot remember for the life of me what the name was or who the author was, but it was about this worm character, and he was always at the profile, and you saw one eye, and he had a little, I think it was a green hat, and he lived in this metropolis of cats. This sounds really trippy. This sounds very trippy, but I'm pretty sure that this was an actual book. And so when I was looking at my old children's books, I couldn't find it anywhere. So I'm wondering if it got lost or what exactly happened to it. And I don't think I'm making this up. I think this is definitely a book. I don't know. And then I remember there were some Sesame Street books that I really liked that I also couldn't find in storage. So I'm wondering what happened. They're probably lost, which really breaks my heart. Comment below if you know about the worm book that I'm talking about. I might be making it up. It's totally possible. But I really, really remember seeing a character, and he had worm clothes on and a hat, and he was always smiling, and he was going in the car, and there was always cats around. Again, this could be Lady Jane just being totally trippy, but let me know if that at all rings a bell. I really want to know if it's just me or not. Number 8. What was the last book that you had to replace? Unfortunately, I also could not find my original copy of How the Grinch Stole Christmas when I wanted to start the tradition of reading it every year. So I had to replace the copy. I'm actually really glad I did because it still has the original illustrations, which were very nostalgic for me. I don't know if this is relevant or just me, but does anybody recall seeing the animated version on television around Christmas time? I used to love watching that. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. And so I was really happy that the book that I got to replace my original copy still had those original like 1950s illustrations. I think it's 1950s, I'm not sure. But that just made me really happy and reminded me of my childhood. So now I really keep my new copy in pristine condition. Number 9, what was the last book that you had an argument over? Now I know Mason from Mason in the Dark was really anticipating this question. If you are an original Lady Jane books fan, you know that one of my very first reviews was of a book called The Resurrectionist by Wrath James White. And quite frankly, this was a rant review because personally, I did not care for it. I didn't like the writing style. I didn't like how the story was executed. It just wasn't for me. And I think we all can agree that on BookTube, we are very open to opinions that are different from our own, correct? Well, this was not the case with some particular viewers, and the comments got a little aggressive, in my opinion. It started to insult my intelligence and to tell me that I didn't know what I was talking about and that it was a great work. And that's fine, you can totally have that opinion. But if I just made a review spelling out all the reasons why this book was not for me and I did not enjoy it, I really don't appreciate comments becoming a personal attack. So it wasn't an argument per se, but I will say that I have no problem shutting down disrespect. And now everybody's gonna go back to that video and see what I'm talking about. Hopefully the comments are still there. I think they are, but that's okay. And for future reference, you are more than welcome to disagree with me or anybody about a book that is being reviewed or discussed. That is totally fine, especially on Lady Jane books. But what is not okay is when it starts to get a little bit personal and aggressive. It's not gonna fly on Lady Jane books. My channel, my rules. This actually reminds me also about a movie I just watched called The Little Things with Denzel Washington. I loved this movie. I thought it was so good. It's kind of like this new noir type of feeling to it. It's a detective story, really great. I absolutely loved it. And so I raved about it to my parents, and they love detective stories as well, and murder mysteries and all that stuff. And they sat down and watched it, and then said, well, that was crap. I'm like, how can you say that was crap? That was so brilliant. Didn't you get this, and didn't you get that, and this is how I interpret it. And so that may have made a little bit of an argument, but it was all in good fun. And we had a wonderful discussion about it. They ended up watching it again, and they still think I'm wrong, but that's okay. So it's not a book, but that was the last kind of more in-depth argument discussion that I've had in a while. So there you go, Mason. And number 10, what was the last book you could not get a hold of? My mom and I are big fans of the Outlander TV adaptation. We love watching the main character. We really get into the drama and we have great discussions about it. And so for Christmas, I wanted to get her a signed copy of Clanlands. Clanlands was actually written by 2 stars of the movie series as they go out through Scotland and they talk about the history and their adventures. And it was kind of a nod to Outlander. And it was a nod to like my mom's and I obsession that year about the TV series. Because I think the signed edition would have really meant a lot to my mom because she loves the guy who plays Jamie Fraser. She loves him. I mean, I do too. Who wouldn't? Wow. I wanted to get the signed copy, and then they kept saying they were all sold out, they were all sold out. And then they said they might get more copies in, and they never did. So I had to settle for the unsigned version. That's okay, I mean, the spirit of the gift was still there, but I think it would have been so cool to get a signed copy from my mom. Unfortunately, it was not in the cards for us, but we can both still really enjoy the TV series. And now I'm going to tag some people. I tagged Pay over at Attention. I think he would give some fantastic stories about these questions. It would be so fun to watch. So Pay over at Attention is tagged. The next person is a relatively new book buddy of mine, Aaron Facer. He does some really interesting videos. Definitely go check him out. The next person I'm tagging is Reading and Retail. She was one of the first people who followed me on BookTube. And come to think of it, I don't think I've ever tagged her before. So Reading and Retail, you're up. And the last person that I'm tagging is Anne with a Book. Anne always gives the most in-depth, wonderful comments. You have to go check out her channel. She's very fun, and she puts things together in a very thoughtful way. So Anne with a Book, I would love it if you would do this tag. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Train again. I have been tagged. My flower and my hair's falling out. Ooh, there's a bug on my window. Ooh. My hair fell out. What? No, my hair fell out. My hair decoration fell out. I have this beautiful orange flower here that I keep in my hair, and it fell out. Excuse me. Oh, scandalous, Lady Jane. You're getting dressed in front of the camera. Scandalous. So I bought the audio book. I tag Pay Veo over, is it Veo or Veo? I'm not sure, because I've heard it as Veo, and then I've heard other people say it as Veo. Pay, let me know. Let me know, okay? If you're watching this video, let me know how to pronounce your last name. Thank you. Oh, there's a lot of spiders here. Oh no. There's a bunch of spiders on the screen outside my window, and there's a bunch of little baby ones, and then I just spotted the mama, I think. So we're gonna wrap this up real quick.